Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Midlife Purpose Project. Today, we are talking about meditation. I love this topic and I love the practice of meditation. I really do believe that meditation is the portal to transformation. It is the most important spiritual practice that we can engage in if we want to transform our lives. But I know a lot of people have resistance against it. So today, we are going to try to decrease that resistance by busting some myths about meditation, really helping you to gain a better understanding of what it is and how you absolutely cannot fail at it. There are no bad meditators out there. And we're also going to discuss the difference between mindfulness and meditation and how they are not the same, but that mindfulness is really setting the stage for meditation and a deeper meditation practice. So if you've ever been interested in learning how to meditate, you're curious about it, or you have resistance to it, and maybe this could open your eyes a little bit, listen on. Hey, gorgeous souls, and welcome to the Midlife Purpose Project. I'm your host, Katie Farinas, a yoga teacher and soul purpose coach. And just like you, I'm navigating the wild, beautiful, and sometimes messy terrain of midlife. This is the space where we unpack the shifts happening in our bodies, minds, and souls. We're diving deep into the questions that rise up when everything seems to be changing. Think of this as your toolkit for making sense of this powerful phase of life. We'll have honest conversations, belly laughs, maybe a few tears, and a whole lot of growth. We'll hear from experts on topics that matter to you in midlife, and I'll share yogic philosophy that has been helping humans live with more skill and ease for centuries. Because here's the truth. Everything you've been through, every challenge, every joy, every heartbreak, has been training you for this. You're not broken, you're not lost. You're stepping into your power. So come on in, embrace the mess, the beauty, and the absolute magic of midlife. Let's journey together. Now, before we start, I do want to make you aware of a series that I am doing, which is called Insight Seat Dharma Dialogues. And what this is, it's an idea I came up with to hopefully help our community to connect or feel connected. I know that we're all out there and we're listening on our separate devices, and we don't really have any contact with one another. But when I see women in my coaching program, I see that we are really all struggling with a lot of the same things. We have the same questions, we have the same concerns, fears, struggles, all of that. And we feel very alone in that, in those challenges in our lives. But when we know that someone else is experiencing the same thing, it helps us to connect and it helps us to feel less alone. And so that's what this series is, the intention for this series. And it's the intention is to connect us by having some of you out there, some of you brave souls who are listening, come on to the show with one of your questions or challenges that you want guidance on. And I will coach you through whatever that particular question or challenge is. And in doing so, you get the benefit of me coaching you and getting some clarity on something you've been struggling with. But you also are performing an act of service because someone out there is listening and has the same question, the same fear, the same challenge. And by listening to you and what you are going through, they not only feel less alone and more connected, but they may get some answers that they desperately need. So I'm hoping that this series can be really great for our community and just support midlife women during this phase. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you're thinking, wow, this feels really exciting, but also terrifying at the same time, I want to remove some of the fear as best I can. And so I want to assure you that you will not be identified if you don't want to be. So we don't need to use your name. We won't air any video of this content. You can be anonymous if that makes the experience feel safer for you and allows you to really open up and receive much better. So please be assured of that. And be assured that you are helping someone if you decide to do this. So if you want to be brave, want to be courageous, and want to get some answers to burning questions, then please head over to the show notes, click on the link for Insight Seat Dharma Dialogues, and book a call with me. It is a pre-recorded call, so you're not going to be having this conversation live on air. It will be private between you and I, and then later aired on the show. All right, now on to this week's episode. Okay, so now on to this week's episode. I want to define both mindfulness and meditation for you to start off the show so that we can kind of separate those, because I think in our modern culture, they get a little intertwined and sometimes people think that they're the same thing. And they are extremely linked, but they're not exactly the same thing. And I believe that one supports the other. So mindfulness, I'm going to use Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition, which is paying attention in the present moment, on purpose, and without judgment. So we are intentionally paying attention to what's going on in the present moment, and we are doing it without judgment. And it can be done anywhere, anytime, while you're doing anything, right? We can always choose to pay attention to the present moment, and we can always choose to drop our judgments of whatever is happening in the present moment. If this is something that is new to you, I would suggest starting out with small activities that you do every day. So that could be walking the dog, brushing your teeth, unloading the dishwasher, something that's a repetitive thing that you do nearly every day, so that it almost is just a reminder. That act of doing that thing is a reminder to you to be mindful while you're doing that. And once you start training your brain for mindfulness in this way, you'll notice that it starts spreading, it starts seeping into other areas of your life. You may find that you're very mindful if you perform any activities where you feel like you get into flow. Flow is a very mindful state of being, right? You're very much in the present moment. You're paying attention to what you're doing, and hopefully, usually in a flow state, you're doing that without judgment. And when we start really training the mind, and it is training the mind, it's like working out the mind for mindfulness and having it spread beyond just a singular activity into a good portion of our life, our daily activities. We're really prepping the soil of our mind for the deeper practice of meditation. If you've listened to my show for a while, I previously have mentioned this idea, this concept, way of visualizing the mind, that our mind is like the ocean, and the thoughts that we have, that constant chatter, which in yoga that's called vritti, that constant chatter, those are like the top of the ocean, the waves, right? That those are the waves that we see, and the things that happen outside of us tend to either calm the waves or stir the waves up. So if you are experiencing challenges, someone is not nice to you, your boss gives you a hard time, your kid's giving you a hard time, you're having a health issue, you're having financial issues, you watch the news, right? These things are going to stir the waves up. They're going to make the waves larger, and they're going to make the waves come faster. They're going to make the waves feel really overwhelming. It's going to be like a storm in your mind. So that is in mindfulness, we learn to notice that. We learn to say, oh, look at my brain, right? I'm just so look at my thoughts. I'm now no longer attaching my identity to my thoughts. I can now see that my thoughts are something that are just produced by my mind and that they are impacted or can be impacted by what's happening around me, or even within me. And I'm separating myself, who I am, from this witchery, this mind chatter. Okay, that's what mindfulness does for us. It helps us to notice the waves that they're occurring and why they're occurring and how it's impacting us. And the best way to practice it, whether it be, as I mentioned, unloading the dishwasher, walking the dog, brushing your teeth, is by going to the five senses. So you are paying attention to how things feel, what they look like, how they sound, maybe what they taste like. Mindful eating is a beautiful practice. Did I miss one? Miss one? I feel like I missed a sense there, but you get my point. The five senses. We really tap into those five senses. So if you're going to be, let's say, mindful while you're emptying the dishwasher, you would be paying attention to how the dishes feel as you take them out of the dishwasher, maybe the sounds that they're making as you put them away in the cabinet or in a drawer. You're going to be maybe smelling what's going on around you. So maybe it's fall here on the East Coast. Maybe you have the windows open and you can smell the fresh air coming in. Maybe you actually feel a breeze on your skin as it comes through the window. Maybe you're feeling your feet on the floor. Maybe you have tile in your kitchen and it feels a little bit cold underneath the feet. Maybe you're wearing socks and it feels a little slippery as you walk around. So this is what we mean when we're paying attention to the present moment on purpose. We're being very intentional about really pulling in all the information that our five senses are giving us and focusing on that. So when we do that, we can't be having thoughts about our past and we can't be having thoughts about our future because our mind is too busy with the present moment. And I just went to see Eckhart Tolle. If you're familiar with him, he is such a beautiful spiritual teacher, and he always talks about the power of now, right? The ever present. He calls it the eternal now, right? We're always in the now. We're in the we're never not in the now. And yet our minds want to bring us back and they want to bring us forward, and they seem to want to ignore the now. But when we can learn to be in the present moment, so much of that anxiety and fear and overwhelm and that witchery, that chatter of the mind, those overwhelming waves start to settle out. So that's the beginning. That's the mindfulness piece. And that, like I said, is prepping the soil of your mind for meditation, which meditation is allowing us to not just see the waves, not just notice the waves, but it's about letting us sink beneath the waves. So, in this analogy of us being like the ocean, the top layer of our brain is the waves. It's all of the thoughts that we're having. But when we sink beneath that, we are actually the truth of who we are, and this is what yoga philosophy teaches us, is that we are pure awareness, we are peace, and we are freedom. That's actually who we are at the depths of our soul. And so meditation allows us to touch that. It allows us to sink beneath the mind chatter, the constant thoughts, and to rest in the awareness of who we are. And in that place of pure awareness, of peace, of freedom, we feel a deep sense of connection to ourselves and connection to something greater, whether you call that God, the universe, divine. It's where we realize that we are one with that source. We can feel that union with that source. So in yoga, this is called dhyana. That's what meditation is called. And it is the seventh limb on Patanjali's 8-limb path. And it is just below samadhi, which is enlightenment, considered to be enlightenment. So that sounds really big and scary, but I promise you it's not. And we're going to get into more of the details, but that's just the difference, right? So mindfulness is this paying attention on purpose, allowing us to notice the thoughts and start to detach from them. And meditation is sinking beneath the thoughts and recognizing on a deep level and on a somatic level that we are this pure awareness of peace and freedom, or we are this awareness and peace and freedom, and we are also connected to our higher selves and the divine. That's actually who we are. So how do we practice meditation? In yoga philosophy, and again, this is where mindfulness and meditation can sometimes get conflated in our modern society, but in the context of yoga philosophy, meditation is a seated practice, typically with the eyes closed. And it's where we decide where we want to place our attention. So that can be on a mantra. It could be simply on your breath, on the sensation of your breath coming in and out of your body. It could be on a visualization. But you pick something that you want to focus on. And during the period of the meditation, you repeatedly come back to that thing. So let's say it's your breath. We'll use your breath as an example. I think that may be one of the easiest ones in my personal opinion, but everyone has to try for themselves to see what feels most comfortable for them. So meditation would be sitting down, closing the eyes, placing your attention on the breath. And then when your mind wanders, and it will, I promise you, bringing your attention back to the breath. And it is that repeated practice of the mind wandering away and then bringing it back, the mind wandering away and bringing it back. And that's really all you do in meditation. It sounds like a complicated practice, but it is really the practice of having enough awareness to recognize when the mind has wandered and then to make the choice to bring it back to its point of focus, the point of focus that you have chosen. And when you do that, you'll find that top layer of the ocean, those waves, will start to slow and calm. They will never go away. You will never not have thoughts during your meditation. That is not the goal of meditation. The goal of meditation was never to have a completely blank mind. The brain is an organ like any other organ in your body, and it was designed to perform a function, and its function is to think. And so just like you wouldn't ask any other organ in your body to not perform its function, we're not asking our brains to do that either. What we're doing is separating ourselves from our thoughts, becoming the witness of the thought, and then being able to sink below them so that we are no longer attached or emotionally impacted by the thoughts. We can just witness them and then allow them to float on by. A common visualization for this is clouds in the sky, right? So we are the sky. We are that open awareness, that peace and beauty, and the clouds are our thoughts. And when we can detach from the thought, we can allow the cloud just to roll on by. We see it, and then it just passes outside of our awareness. And really, that's what we are looking for in meditation, this ability to sit in the wisdom, the knowledge, the knowing that we are the sky, we are not the clouds, and that the sky has some clouds and they're going to pass by, but we're not impacted by those. And the more we can sink into that awareness of who we truly are, the fewer clouds that will come by. But there will still always be clouds, right? And if we're using that wave, that ocean wave example, the more we can sink into the depths of the ocean, the fewer waves will will come, and the waves that do come will be small and not disruptive to the ocean itself. So hopefully that makes sense, the difference between mindfulness and meditation. Now, let's dispel some common misbeliefs about meditation and about why I often hear people say they can't meditate. And I said this in the intro and I will say it again. I truly believe, and yoga philosophy believes this as well. And when I say I truly believe, I'm saying from, my own personal experience, as well as the experience of many people that I have worked with, that meditation is the portal, the absolute, it is the most important piece of a spiritual journey. So there are many things we can do to become self-actualized, self-realized. But meditation is really at the top of these practices. So I don't want to understate, I really want to emphasize how important I think that this practice is. And I will also say that usually we would say, what's the expression that we use all the time? Quality over quantity. I think we're going to reverse that here. We're going to say quantity over quality. I don't know if that's exactly right, but my point is you want to do this frequently. It's like exercising at the gym, right? If you go to the gym once a month, you're really not going to see very good results. If you go to the gym every day, even if you spend 20 minutes there a day, you're going to see results and you're going to see them much faster. So I would rather see you meditate for 1 minute, 60 seconds every day than see you sit down and try to do a 15-minute meditation, say, this is too hard, I can't do it, walk away and not come back for a month or more, right? So I really want you to recognize that repetitions are really, really important in training your brain. And that's exactly what you're doing. You are training your brain. And so to train it, it needs repetition, but that repetition doesn't have to be long. You don't have to commit to a big, lengthy meditation. And in fact, if you're new to meditation, I actually advise against it because it's going to deter you from continuing with this practice versus choosing a bite-sized meditation that you can fit into your schedule that feels manageable on an emotional level that will allow you to see benefits before you decide you can't continue with it. Okay, so that being said, here's some things I hear all the time. My mind is too busy. If that's you, if you're the person who's saying, I can't do it, my mind is too busy, you are the person who absolutely needs to meditate. You are the person who has that richie, that mind chatter, those waves are going crazy. And yes, that can feel uncomfortable when you sit down to meditate because we're used to distracting ourselves. We have all that mind chatter going on, but we do whatever we need to do to kind of push it aside. And it's kind of like sweeping a problem under the rug. Like if you've ever had an issue in your relationship and you don't want to deal with it or it's hard, and so you try to just kind of push it away, but it keeps resurfacing. That's like mind chatter. The more you try to push it away, the more you try to pretend like it's not there, distract yourself from it, the stronger it's going to get. And so if you feel like my mind is too busy, just know that we all have busy minds. Every one of us has busy minds because that's what the mind does. And the whole intention behind meditation is to start to look at the mind, look at the busyness in the mind, see what's coming up, see how you can detach from the thoughts and recognize that you are not your thoughts, that the busyness of the mind can be there. You can let it be there, but it doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to control how you feel and how you act, and what you do. You can just allow it to be. And that's what meditation really teaches us, is this allowing of the busy mind. It is not an expectation that the mind will become quiet. Now, the chatter may slow down. It may not be quite as loud or quite as fast, but it will always be there. I don't have time is another one. So this we kind of addressed a few minutes ago. like I said, I'd rather you do 1 minute a day. Consistency is key. Get the repetitions in, like a bicep curl, right? I want you to just do it every single day. If you don't have 60 seconds to meditate, then you definitely need to meditate. Okay. Your life is way too full. So 60 seconds is manageable. You can do it when you first wake up in the morning. You can do it right before bed. You can do it if you get a lunch break at work. If you drive your kids all over the place to practices, you can do it while they're at practice and you're sitting in the car. There are countless ways that you can fit in this 1 minute. I can't sit still. This is another one. I can't sit still. We got a lot of fidgety people up there. And so this, I understand. I get a lot from a lot of people. So in yoga, we have the asana practice. That's the physical practice. And at the end, we have something called savasana, which is where, if you've ever taken a yoga class, is where you lay flat on your back. And that was very intentionally designed because that savasana is a meditative practice. So the idea was we go through the physical practice to move the energy around the body, exhaust the body, and so we can relax at the end and feel that we can be still during this meditative practice. That's why yoga is designed the way that it is. But maybe you're not getting to a yoga class every day, and I'm asking you to meditate every day. So my recommendation would be to do your meditation at the end of some physical practice. So again, is that walking the dog? Is that after you work out at the gym? Maybe you work out at home. Wherever you get your exercise in whatever way you get your exercise in, maybe for you, if you have trouble sitting during a meditation, that is the best time to do your 1, 2, 3 minute practice, is to tack it on to the end of your physical exercise. And that may help you to be still for those few moments. I get bored is another one. Boredom is really, it's a symptom of a restless mind. And it's also right before, it is like the level of the mind right before the mind reveals what it needs to reveal underneath of it, right? So boredom wants to try to take you out of the meditation because there's something else that wants to come through. And the ego doesn't want that thing to come through, right? Because the more we step into self-realization, the more we evolve, the smaller the ego gets. And the ego does not like that. The ego really wants to stick around and it wants to be powerful and strong. So it wants to pull you away from anything that is going to shrink its importance. So just know, if you're sitting there and you're really feeling bored and you're like, I just want to get out of this meditation, I am so bored right now. Stay in it, okay? Know that it's okay to feel bored. It's okay to have those thoughts. They can all be there. You can accept them exactly as they are, and that it is your ego trying to pull you away from having whatever is directly underneath of that, that once you access will move you forward on this spiritual journey towards who you really are and who you came here to be. It doesn't work for me is another one. Um, so meditation doesn't always feel peaceful right away. And sometimes, and I've been a regular practitioner for, I don't know now, like 12 plus years. And sometimes meditation still doesn't feel peaceful to me. Because sometimes it brings up things that have been hidden, and those things are uncomfortable. But that is all part of the process, right? That's part of the process of becoming aware of the subconscious. And that's what we're really accessing here in meditation. We're accessing the subconscious, those thought patterns that are running like a computer program in your brain underneath your awareness. And so they're driving your conscious thoughts, they're driving your emotions, they're driving your behavior, and they're driving all of your patterns in your life. So if we want to change, any part of our lives, we need to first start with awareness. What is driving us? And what is the pattern? Where did it come from? And how are these subconscious beliefs impacting me? And sometimes, like I said, that can be not super peaceful and not super pleasant, but it is necessary if you want to move forward. And ultimately, if you can sit through it, if you can see that you are not your thoughts, that you are the piece that is underneath of your thoughts, and you can allow them to be there with compassion and without judgment, what awaits you on the other side is so much beauty and so much growth and connection and peace. It is moving you a step forward toward this deep knowing of who you actually are, which is part of the divine, and that freedom and that peace and that connection, and that deep love. And it really is moving you towards that. And I think those are the biggest ones that I hear. The other one is I can't clear my mind, which we kind of talked about before. My mind is too busy. But when we understand that the goal is not a blank mind, when we understand and we can have compassion for the fact that the thoughts just keep showing up, that's when we can change our relationship with them. So it's a really important one that I want to stress. It's not about stopping the thoughts, it's about changing our relationship with the thoughts and understanding that we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are just, honestly, they're just like a chemical reaction that's going on in our brain. And they can teach us about ourselves. They can teach us about, like I said, those subconscious beliefs, what's driving us, our patterns, but they are not who we are. Okay, so those are just getting those out of the way, all of those excuses. And I would love feedback on this. Like I said, if you have a beef with anything that I said, if you disagree with it, if you have questions about it, please get in touch with me in all of those, any or all of those ways that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Like I said, all the links will be in the show notes. So now on to, because I happen to love this combination of spirituality and modern psychology. I just wanted to bring in a little of this modern psychology as well, because I think I probably have some skeptics out there. I wouldn't be surprised if I had some skeptics out there. And listen, I'm a skeptic. There's many things that when I hear it for the first time, or even the 10th time, I'm still skeptical. And I do love science. As much as I love spirituality, I do love science. And I love how science is now supporting spirituality. So modern psychology and neuroscience have both been studying meditation intensively for a few decades now. And the data is pretty overwhelming. And what they're finding is that it is supporting yoga philosophy, essentially. So all of this ancient wisdom that has been passed down for thousands of years is now being supported by modern psychology. And we'll do a side-by-side comparison here. So in yoga philosophy, we have these fluctuations of the mind, the Vritri. I have a really hard time with that word. And yoga says that meditation creates inner stillness. It steadies the mind and slows these fluctuations. What modern psychology says is it improves our focus and attention. It improves and strengthens our ability to concentrate, to have good working memory, and to have good executive function of our brains. So right on target there, right? We're just kind of using different words to explain the same thing. Yoga philosophy says that meditation dissolves ignorance. And in this context, ignorance means not being able to see what's in front of you, forgetting your true nature of who you are, right? So I think I did an episode a few weeks back. What am I not seeing because I'm seeing what I'm seeing? I can link that episode. But, it dissolves this, the lens through which we are seeing ourselves and the world, and it allows us to see with clarity. It peels back the layers of conditioning, right? Because we all have conditioning If you were a child and you grew up with anything less than perfect parents, which that's impossible, right? Nobody has perfect parents, then you had some conditioning. If you have lived in any culture, you have conditioning. If you have gone to school, you have conditioning. If you have been in relationships, you have conditioning, okay? We all have conditioning. And that's the ignorance. That's the stuff that we need to work through so that we can see more clearly. So that's what yoga philosophy says meditation does. It dissolves that ignorance. Modern psychology says it increases self-awareness. So we have more insights into our thought patterns and our behaviors, okay? Same things, different words. Yoga philosophy says it connects us to our true self. In yoga, that's called your Atman. Atman is your true self. And it's this experience of pure awareness. Modern psychology says it enhances our sense of well-being, a greater life satisfaction, more meaning, more emotional balance, right? So what yoga philosophy is saying, we're connected to our Atman, our true self, which is that knowing that we are peace, we are love, we are freedom, we are abundance, we are all of those things. And of course, knowing all those things would lead to greater life satisfaction, meaning, and emotional balance, right? So that's how those two link. Yoga philosophy says that meditation weakens the kleshas. And I should do a series on kleshas, and I probably will. We haven't talked about those on this show, but basically, kleshas in yoga philosophy are mental afflictions. So those are things like attachment, aversion, fear. These are things that hold us back in our lives. And modern psychology says that meditation reduces stress and anxiety. So, stress and anxiety would be forms of kleshas. It lowers, according to psychology, the studies that they've done, it lowers our cortisol levels. It calms our amygdala, which is that little almond-shaped part of our brain that puts us into fight or flight. And it supports our resilience, our ability to bounce back from the challenging things that happen in our lives. And the last part is yoga philosophy says that it transforms our daily life. It gives us more compassion, more patience, more clarity. And modern psychology says it strengthens our emotional regulation. So we get less reactive, more compassionate, more empathetic. So I think it's really fascinating how these two sciences, because yoga is a science, really align using different language. And I don't know, I just love that. And I hope that you also find that fascinating. Basically, yoga frames meditation as a spiritual practice towards liberation. And psychology frames it as a mental training for your well-being and your health. And both agree that it transforms how we relate to our thoughts, our emotions, and our life itself. So to me, that's like win-win, right? We are winning all the way around. We are improving our well-being and our health, and we're also getting closer to the truth of who we are, that deeper awareness that we are light and love, and that we can be that in the world, and we can make this world, our personal world, and the world at large a better place. So I hope that's convinced you to start becoming a regular meditator. And I would invite you to, if this episode inspired you and you're thinking, I've been wanting to do this, I've been wanting to start a regular meditative practice, and I just haven't done it yet, do that 1 to 2 minutes a day. And do it for the next 40 days. And along with that, pick one activity, one simple activity that you do every day that you can perform with mindfulness, and just see what happens after the 40 days. Do a little challenge for yourself and see what it happens. The mindfulness challenge doesn't require any extra time in your day because it will be done while you're doing an activity you do anyway. And the meditation, maybe it takes 1 to 2 minutes a day. And just see. I remember when I first started meditating, after I would meditate, I would open my eyes and the world actually looked clearer. It looked like there was more color, it looked more vibrant, and it was just clearer. I'm not sure what a better word to use, but everything kind of looked like it was more distinct. It was fascinating. So it's also a really fascinating journey, this meditation journey. And it's fascinating to see the fluctuations. Do know that if you decide to accept this little challenge I'm offering, that there will be days where you think, oh, I'm rocking this meditation thing. I have got it down. Like I feel so peaceful and blissed out and amazing. And the next day, literally, you could be like, wow, that was rough. That was really rough. My mind was going a million miles a minute for the entire 2 minutes. It never slowed down. It never stopped. It was kind of uncomfortable. Oh, and that's when we start to judge ourselves, right? When that happens, we start thinking, I'm doing this wrong. It's not working. I personally can't do this. This isn't meant for me, right? We start coming up with all kinds of reasons behind why we're having the experience that we're having. And what I'm going to ask you to do is when that happens, and I am warning you that it is going to happen, when it happens, that you just allow it. You just witness it. You might even witness the thoughts that you're starting to have about it, like the ones that I just mentioned. And then you're going to say, I surrender to it. I'm going to let it be what it is. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to judge myself. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it again tomorrow and see what happens. So that is really the only thing you need to do, is to keep returning back to it. What happens during that 2 minutes is so much less important than you just committing to the 2 minutes. So I invite you to do that. I hope you take me up on this offer. And I would love to hear about it. Also, if you decide to do it, please let me know. And please let me know how it changed over the 40 days. All right, my friends, have a wonderful, beautiful week. I love you so much. Namaste. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery here at the Midlife Purpose Project. I hope today's conversation sparked something deep inside of you, made you laugh, or reminded you that you are never alone. Remember, it's never too late to reconnect with your soul's purpose and live a life of meaning. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the show, or share it with someone who could use a little inspiration. It really helps the show reach more women and helps me keep the content ad-free. Join me next time as we continue to explore what it means to live with purpose in midlife.